Welcome everyone, Gabriel here, and this video is Dragon Age Keep video 2. Yeah, kind of 2. This is the second video about Dragon Age Keep that I'm doing. I hope you had a fabulous time playing Inquisition when it was out. I finally beated my second playthrough, did that with my second Inquisitor, and today I'm going to go through the world states, through my 2 world states. Which basically means I'm going to sum up my personal Dragon Age Inquisition experience. In a moment we'll go to the tapestry. 2 worlds I'm going to analyze, which obviously means, as the previous big information said, there is like a big spoiler warning here. We'll be going through major decisions you can make in Dragon Age Inquisition. Here we are, the tapestry. I have to say that when I'm looking from a distance on the artwork on tapestry, it still looks kind of thematical, I would say. What that means is basically, you know, all of these things that you see here are drawn. They are actually drawn, and you see it quite clearly. They have a art style in them, which I actually very much like. So here we go, world states. My first world state was Livia, and that's here. This is my first playthroughs. Dragon Age Origins, Karen Mahariel, my first Warden. I do have to say that it is great to see that BioWare is able to maintain and connect these guys here. Then we have William Hawke, who was a he was a fighter, and Livia. She is my personal favorite of my characters at this very moment, mainly because how Inquisition turned itself in general. So let's load this world state into the Keep and edit it in the tapestry, which actually I won't be editing, but you get the idea, I hope. If you want to see a little bit more about this world state, I highly recommend check out my first video about Dragon Age Keep. This was before Inquisition was actually released, as far as I recall. 2014, 2 years ago. Almost 2 years ago. But we go to Inquisition. Boom, here we go. Livia ended up as a Knight Enchanter, and she's one of 3 my Inquisitors. Actually, only 2 are really relevant. When it comes to the party members, I think we should start here. We have, as you can see, romance with Solus, which is kind of... it was an interesting twist that they decided to incorporate that. Most of the other characters are fine, well. There is Dorian, who reconciled with his father and was friends with Inquisitor. Basically everyone was friends with Inquisitor. Blackwall recruited and stayed, ended up as a Grey Warden, and he's a friend with Inquisitor. Cassandra is rebuilding the Seekers, and the book there was also a scene, which is kind of cool. She's friend with Inquisitor. Sarah, friends with Inquisitor, but she killed Harmond herself. When it comes to Solus, friends with Inquisitor, which is kind of like, when you were romancing him, I don't think you can end up with a romance, and not really something that has to be checked. We freed his friend, which is kind of from a perspective of looking at Trespasser, this is kind of interesting. I don't know how this is supposed to be seen, this personal quest of his. It's kind of like it was lost somewhere in the storyline, I think. Cole, recruited, friend, or spirit. Varric, friend with Inquisitor, and traced down the Red Delirium sources. This is like a perfect playthrough, maybe perfect playthrough, I don't know, semi-perfect playthrough. Vivienne recruited, her love was able to shine when she met this friend of hers, a very dear friend, and she was a friend. Now, as you probably see already, Iron Bull not present in this playthrough. I deliberately did this because the way Iron Bull is recruited in Inquisition is something that really bothers me. If you look at the playthrough, my playthrough, when you look at how this actually works in basically in the storyline, I can't believe they did this. I really think that as much as Iron Bull's storyline is cool and great, its start, the beginning, the moment when you recruit him is just plainly bizarre, awkward, and from a story point of view, basically hard even to find a word how idiotic that is. He states that he's a foreign agent and he wants to join you for money or whatever, I don't know. I was not able in my first playthrough to really go through with that conversation. I think I loaded like 3 times, and all the time I was like, there's just no way Livia would allow this to happen. And that is why he's not here. Okay, so that was party members. Advisors. I went to the Templars, and that is why I ended up with Calpurnia as the Inquisitor's nemesis, which means Samson armor, and Samson's armor was not something I was able to do. I investigated her past and I talked her down. When it comes to Cullen, I told him that he should not use delirium. I also did the favors for Du Parakits. I still remember how to pronounce that. I'm really happy about that. And Liliana, as it is called here and stated, steeled, which is kind of an interesting thing because Liliana's personality can be changed in Dragon Age Origins, and now it can be even more dramatic. She's like, I'm steel, don't come near me. When it comes to exploring TheDAS, I'm deliberately doing this in a little bit of a different order. We did most of this. I did most of this. And yes, I did reach the inner sanctum. I walked around this freaking all of these maps, looked through the astrariums, and really tried to find as many as I could. And in the end, I was able to reach the inner sanctum of that freaking sanctuary. Investigated the Dwarven ruins, recruited the troops from the Avar. Rescued the troops from the Avar. I did find that that Fairbanks was a noble, and I helped him, which actually most of us did, I believe. I helped the refugees, I gained the cultist allegiance, closed the Lake Rift, and captured Caer Bronarch, which actually was stated in Trespasser, as far as I remember. Captured Suladin Keep, Imshale was killed. All of this, and the Griffin's Keep as well, all of this basically was done through sheer will, my sheer will to play that playthrough again and again and again. And even after I beated the game, when I downloaded DLCs and bought the 2 DLCs I did, which is Deep Roads and Trespasser, I still walked around and tried to investigate all of these things. How that will end up, I have no idea, but it was, let's make it clear, at some point it was not fun anymore. So, the Wrath of Haven, Livia said that she is not chosen by the Andraste, as you can quite clearly see here. Champions of the Just, the Templars were leashed, and the mages were not joined in the Inquisition. Wicked Eyes and Wicked Hearts. That one is one of my favorite locations, but not my favorite situations in Origins. This whole quest is so bizarre that it is kind of like creepy to even play it. In my playthrough, Celine rules alone. Duchess Florian was alive and sentenced to exile, I think, and well, Empress lives because she rules. Then we have Judgment at Skyhold. Olivia was kind of merciful to people, and sentenced them to, yeah, she basically banished most of the people who were problematic. What pride has wrath, which is one of my favorite moments in the storyline. Morrigan drank from the well. I allowed her to do that. In your heart shall burn. This one is the basic one, which actually kind of defines the Inquisition. In here, I decided to go as a exemplar, I think, which is kind of like, the problem with this one is I don't actually recall. I think that's the moment when you take on the sword in Skyhold. If that was right, then that makes sense. Inquisition was basically formed to restore order when it comes to Livia. Don't go this way, please. Here lies the abyss. I allowed the wardens to maintain who they are and stay south of TheDAS, which is kind of like, I believe, the better choice. Doom upon the world. Here we have Liliana as divine Victoria, which is kind of like interesting because the way she acts as the divine is exactly on par with the fact that she was sorry, I'm not here. She was steeled, as it is said in the advisors tab. Joseph Hakon, I didn't have this DLC. I don't even actually go very deeply into this. The Descent, I found out what is delirium and how it actually operates, which is kind of like an interesting twist for Dragon Age lore, I think. The other choice is actually if you don't do the DLC itself. And the final one, which is Trespasser. I preserved the Inquisition. Iron Bull was never recruited, which I actually believe this kind of forces the outcome that he dies in Trespasser or is dead in any way. And Livia, because she loves Dreadwolf, she loves Solus, she tries to attempt to redeem him. Now the thing with this is I had the choice in this playthrough. I had no choice in the previous one. And that's how basically my world for the fourth game looks like. Ever since I played Origins, I try to keep intact and in my head how this works. Now, if the save files aren't exactly working and this whole thing was taken on by the keep, this is my world state and it is locked, which means it's not something that will be changed. And now the second one, which is here. Just let me load it into the keep. This one's here. Telenia Tablis, my DLC, my LP, my Let's Play on the channel features her playthrough, as far as I recall it. It was also done here. Then Samantha Hawk, who is a mage. She was my second playthrough of Dragon Age 2. I played Dragon Age 2 only 2 times. Inquisition now I also played 2 times with Nilin Kadash, and this one is also locked. So let's see how this one will looks. This will be a little bit longer because the hero of Ferelden here's storyline can be seen in my Let's Play, which I will try to point a link here somewhere. Dragon Age 2, basically Isabella as a romance option. Oops, too far away. Hero was aggressive, kind of like punching people in the face, right? She was a mage, Samantha Hawk. Most acts kind of like supporting the mages, I think, in the last one. Yes, sided with the mages at the end. This playthrough was basically really bloody, if you know what I mean. You will see a lot of deaths here, like here, 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 right? Get the idea, I think. When it comes to Inquisition, because this one is kind of a different than the previous one, we start with the Inquisitor who ended up as the Tempest, which is kind of interesting because from a story point of view, that's fine and okay, but from a gameplay point of view, Nilin was a archer, She's kind of like crazy because Tempest is a specialization for close combat as far as I can tell, but it worked quite well. Okay, companions. Cassandra's romance, which was kind of cool. Dorian returned to the Winter and fine with his father, friends with the Inquisitor. Iron Bull, friends with the Inquisitor. Talvashov, and he saved the charges because these are kind of intertwined. Blackwall recruited and stayed, but was not friends, and we didn't go after Blackwall. We don't know what happened to him after the Inquisition was disbanded. I never liked this character actually. His storyline also never actually inspired me to any kind of emotional response, I would say. Cassandra, rebuilding the Seekers, discovered the book, friends with Cassandra, hard to have, not to be friends and don't have a romance, I believe. Sarah recruited and stayed, didn't encounter Harmond, and she's also friends. Solus, now that's a different story here than the previous one. No friends with Solus, and we didn't track his friend down. Cole, never recruited. Why is that? He is a spirit, and my character in this playthrough was a dwarf. Dwarves don't have a connection with the Fade, so he was kind of like a foreign element to my friend Nilin, my Inquisitor. And friends with Varric, as well as track down the Lyrium idol. Vivienne recruited, and here is kind of fine, I think. Operations. Now this one is a little bit different because I did deploy forces, but I don't know why most of these never actually happened to me. I don't recall none of this happening in the second playthrough, which is kind of interesting, to say the least. Okay, when it comes to advisors, I think I've said that before, did I? Samson was the nemesis of the Inquisition. His armor was destroyed, and we learned about his armor, which obviously means we haven't had the pleasure of finding Calpurnia. Liliana not discussed in this playthrough, and we dealt with 2 parakeets by assassination. Well, Liliana is the one says that. Other things, this jumps a little bit too much. Wrath at Haven, the Inquisitor accepted being chosen by Andraste. That's one different thing that happened. Champions of the Just, the Templars, were changed and taken by Corypheus. The Mages were conscripted as far as I recall, which means we tried to leash them, as it was sometimes called in the game as far as I recall. And remember, the Wicked Eyes and Wicked Hearts, totally differently done than the previous playthrough. Gaspard rules by Briala, or rather I should say Briala rules by Gaspard. Duchess Florian and Empress Lean are dead. And yes, the box, if you know what I mean, is held captive. Judgment at Skyhold. Nilin was kind of like a more drastic in what he did, but the punishments, it's hard for me to say whether this was actually this actually represents how I played. Hanging judge. But certainly it was not this. Something between these two, I think. When it comes to Skyhold, Judgment at Skyhold. What the Pride has wrought. We did not ally with the Guardians, and the Inquisitor was the one who drank, which somewhere down the line worked quite fine, in my humble opinion. In the heart shall burn. This time we declared an order, basically. This one was the first one, which is kind of cool in my view of that choice. Here lies the Abyss. The Grey Wardens were exiled from the south of TheDAS. Drastic measures, but sometimes I find in the way that the Grey Wardens are portrayed in Inquisition, I think that actually makes sense, because the Order was used by BioWare to a different end than it was actually presented in Origins. I don't know why they decided to do this that way, but if you play Inquisition, you kind of like find, I believe you find Wardens not as heroic and great as they were presented in the previous title. Doom upon the world, Cassandra is divine, which actually makes it kind of like complex when it comes to the romance. I really like this, how the storyline turned out there. The Descent, I went through the hassle of playing this for the second time, which obviously means we stopped the earthquakes and we found out what the Titan is. Trespasser. Now this one is Bull remained loyal because he's Tal Vashoth, which makes sense. We disbanded the Inquisition in this playthrough. I disbanded. The idea was that if you disband the Inquisition, Inquisitor says that quite clearly. It's not about the organization, it's about the people. And you have only two ways of doing that. Most importantly, Solus. We will stop him at all costs. And the thing I really want to mention here is the fact that Solus in this playthrough was not exactly my antagonist, but I found it interesting that there was no choice left for me. If you don't have high approval with Solus, if you don't have the romance with him, I think, maybe not the romance, but if you don't have high approval with Solus, basically this sets this decision, and you don't have the option to change it later, which is something I really like. Okay, so that's how my world states do look after two playthroughs of Inquisition. At the very end, I can already tell you that Inquisition is I always have a problem with these games, because Origins was advertised as a series that was supposed to be something slightly bit traditional when it comes to BioWare. It's supposed to be the successor to spiritual successor, as they call it, to Baldur's Gate 2, and it did that really well. But then when Dragon Age 2 came in, I always say that Dragon Age 2 is a good game, but compared to Origins, it's not really that good. It has its flaws, has its problems, especially with the design and the short development cycle. Inquisition, most of the problems addressed when it comes to exploration, but when it comes to story, it's far from being actually great. Unless you count Trespasser into it, because Trespasser basically shines this big light on the story and changes it totally, with this one thing that Solus is the Red Wolf. What I expect from the future games, I think I'll do a video about that. I really want to, but the main thing is I really want them to focus on the story more than on the characters, because characters in Inquisition are good, but there is too many of them, for example, and you kind of lose yourself somewhere down the line with them, and there is no good interaction between the characters and the story. I think there is a split in Inquisition that was not present in Origins, for example, where you had Anora, when you had Morrigan and Alistair, very important and kind of like central to the plot in the later moments. Okay, so that's my personal view and my personal world states for Dragon Age Inquisition. After Dragon Age Inquisition, what will be the fourth game in the series? We do know that the setting will be Tevinter, which is something I really like, and I hope that the team can accomplish something a little bit more polished. I think that Inquisition lacks, kind of loses itself in its own greatness. Not very visible, but when I played the game twice, I I do see it. The big problem here is this. Sorry, not this. Is this exploration of TheDAS. I basically left the exploration in the second playthrough because I didn't find it really interesting, and this is kind of like why that actually happens. I wonder. Okay, so that's my world states. Thank you for listening here, and hope to see you soon with maybe some more videos. We're going to jump back to The Witcher very soon, because I really want to do the Witcher lore, Witcher character series. I said that I will do it, and even if it takes me more than a half a year to actually motivate myself into into moving on with that project, I hope we'll arrive there soon. Ciao.